you the news. Printed the info again.
Hey, this meeting is being live streamed, so that worked. My name is Eugene Driscoll. Welcome to Navel Gazing, I guess, the Valley Indy podcast. Apparently my sound is on. Hopefully you can all hear me. Go ahead and leave a comment that I'll see in about 20 minutes. But this is our 13th annual Valley Indy After Dark Halloween special. So good on us for making it for 13 years.
12 plus 1.
Yeah, and it's a lie. We've never done this before. But I thought we would talk, it's Halloween season, right? Like you can say, it's a little early, but I spent all week putting together Halloween listings, like just in the Valley alone. And there's so many different things going on. So the first thing I wanted to emphasize to people, anyone watching out there, please go to valleyindy.org or valley.newhavenindependent.org. However you get there, search it on Google, Facebook, whatever. On the homepage, I have at least 20 local listings of family friendly, some not family friendly, a lot of not family friendly stuff we'll talk about tonight. But so please, it's a resource. Please use it because it takes a long time to compile that stuff, and you got to copy and paste it and then check the times and find a photo. So it's not like I'm making any money off it. I just want to make it worth, the 16 hours I spent doing it. So, all right. So who are these guys? Well, first I'm going to introduce my co-host, my special co-host, my guest co-host for this evening from the Pint of Comics podcast, which is the most popular pop culture entertainment podcast in Connecticut. It is John Amenta. Hello, John.
What's going on, Eugene? He said my name. That was true, and I do host Pint of Comics.
Wait, your name's not John Amenta?
No, I said you got that part right. That's
okay.
Right. And I am the host of that show. I didn't know we were the most popular, and I wasn't aware I was your co-host tonight. So this is very exciting. But thanks for having me on, Eugene. I appreciate it. Yeah,
no problem. Tell us about Pint of Comics a little bit.
Pint of Comics has been around about 4 years now. It's me and my co-host, the Manster, Lloyd, and we basically
very attractive,
good-looking guy,
very attractive man,
handsome,
very handsome guy. Easily could be a movie star.
He's a looker.
He is a looker. And we got comics in the name, and that's all very I guess misleading. But we talk about movies, we talk about music, TV shows, comic books. We do talk about as well, and we have a great time. And it's just, I think every week for the last 4 years we put out an episode, and I think we have a really good time. And I think the people that do listen seem to enjoy it. So we're gonna keep on making them.
I seem to enjoy it.
Yeah. You guys were on very recently. You and your partner Brian there.
That's
we
right.
Talked about the very not underwhelming. What's the word I'm looking for? The underknown, I guess, the Way of the Gun, which was a fun episode. Yeah,
that's right. And Spears, by the way, he's working tonight. He might be going on strike soon. He's part of that union thing. They, I think 96% of them voted to authorize a strike, and now the negotiations are happening. I support it though, because Spears is working his butt off because there's so much work, which is good. But then it's you got to sleep, and they have the whole thing. He's been COVID tested, I think 6 times in the last 2 weeks, which is also great. But he's got to go travel. He goes from where he lives in Westchester County all the way to Brooklyn, because you can't just go to any doctor. You got to go to a specific doctor. So, and so he's leaving his house at 4 a.m. And so it's all this stuff. So all this little stuff maybe that hasn't quite made it to the news regarding that possible strike. But,
it's what you just said is kind of crazy, man. My daughter filmed a role in a film over the summer. And I think she was on set a total of maybe 10 days, and she had to COVID test a dozen times. She's 10 years old. I'm just this is crazy, man.
They're not messing around with that.
No.
Everyone, people are screaming about whatever. I guess, I don't want to get into a whole discussion about that. This will just go off the rail. So never mind. That's Scary Larry Dwyer down there of Derby. By the way, this is live from my dungeon in the city of Derby. So,
nice.
And Larry is a fellow Derbonian.
Is that what we are? Are we Derbonians?
No, I just say that because it's what?
I hesitate to call. I mean, I just moved here 6 years ago, so I hesitate to call myself a Derbonian. I'm still.
That's a combination of Ansonia and Derby that I think I made up myself.
I'm from Bridgeport. That's where I'm from.
Got to throw out the Bridgeport there. Yeah. So, and we'll get back to Larry in a second. Larry's got a lot going on. And then last, certainly not least, is my friend, Mr. Matt Maisto, joining us from the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. You might remember that Sopranos episode. There he is. He knows what happened to the Russian.
Everybody. I do. He's buried right in my backyard.
I was going to say, do you know where that Russian guy is now?
Matt's not actually from the Pine Barrens. I guess I should probably point that out. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, I'm about 30 miles west of the Pine Barrens from where I am right now, Central Jersey, because there really is a thing called Central Jersey, and that's where I'm from.
Right. And what's that whole thing? I know I've brought this up 1,000 times. What is it? Pork sandwich or pork roll? What is all that nonsense?
Pork roll or Taylor ham. The thing is, though, is that anybody that says Taylor ham is wrong, because if you look on the package, Taylor is a brand of pork roll, and it says Taylor, and it says pork roll underneath the label that says Taylor.
You see, my thing with that, I'm a native New Yorker, and that's almost as ridiculous as the claim that Connecticut has the best pizza in the United States. There are two things that just don't make any sense to me.
It's not a ridiculous claim at all. It's
true.
Just truth.
It's true. And not to like
the nutmeg state.
Not to put everything on the guy, but what's the guy's name who does the pizza videos?
The Barstool guy.
The Barstool guy.
Portnoy. Dave Portnoy.
Portnoy. Whether you like him or not, this guy is eating pizza everywhere in the world. At least in the United States, I'm sorry. And he straight out came out and said, not a contest. New Haven pizza. Yeah. That's a guy who eats a lot of pizza. He knows. A lot of pizza. Yeah.
Up his nose. Then Matt Maisto.
He did give
Roseland.
He did give Roseland like an 8.6 or 8.5, very high score.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Here I am in a nonprofit for 11 years now, just eking out a living, ham and egging it all I can, covering government meetings, trying to do for the greater good. But the moron from Barstool Sports rolls in and gets 8 million views. Thanks. That's great. Like he needed that shout out from us. I'm not jealous at all. So Matt Maisto, let's start with you. This is a Halloween themed episode, as you can see by all the garbage behind me. And Matt is the director, co-founder, writer, producer of something called Mondo Creepy. It is a horror hostess show, like in the vein of Elvira, who's been in the news lately. I'm sure everyone's familiar. The fourth episode, I think it is.
Fourth episode.
The fourth episode.
Episode 4.
Premieres tomorrow night. That's Saturday, October 9th at 11 p.m. on YouTube. Search Mondo Creepy to watch. So welcome to the broadcast, Matt Maisto.
Thank you very much.
I already welcomed you. Let me take that back. Sorry.
No, welcome him again. Go for it.
Who am I to turn down another welcome?
So what movie are you going to be watching tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, we will be watching a movie called Ghoul Scout Zombie Massacre. It'll be making its broadcast premiere on the show. Although you can buy it on DVD. It's a brand new film. It came out in 2020. It was actually shot about 10 years ago, but it was finally released last year.
Wow. So I know the previous Mondo Creepy episodes have been public domain movies.
Oh, yeah. This is a big deal for us to have a film that's not a public domain film.
Those public domain films were great. I mean, they were just so out of their minds crazy. I really had a good time watching all those. But how did you convince somebody to give you their film?
The guy that made the film, he wrote it and directed it, is a guy named Eric Eichelberger. He actually used to do post-production work for Media Blasters here in the city, but he now lives on the West Coast. He shot
Media Blasters of Shadow Dead Riot. I have it somewhere here.
Shadow
Tony
Dead Riot
Todd.
fame, exactly.
Michael Gingold penned.
That's right. He shot it about 10 years ago, and he finally got distributed, but he sold it to Tubi. He got it distributed through this DVD company, but mostly he made his money back, or I guess he made money off of it by selling it to Tubi, which is what a lot of independent horror filmmakers are doing these days. If you go on Tubi, a lot of people love it almost as much as Shudder, especially if you're into independent horror, because they're buying everything. I mean,
Tubi, I'm an old man. I'm a silly old man. What Tubi's a streaming service?
Tubi is a streaming service, but it's you don't pay for it. It's a non-subscription service, but there are commercials.
It's great.
Yeah.
I want to interject one thing just to go on Matt's point. I watch Tubi all the time. The other night I was super bored and wanted to look for a horror movie on Tubi. So it's set up like Netflix with
it's overwhelming how many choices they have.
806. I for half an hour I scrolled till I got to the end. 806 horror movies. So there's a lot of stuff on there.
I love that Johnny Amenta counted that. That is
It tells you.
Oh,
at
it
the
says
end.
okay.
It says like 806,
I was like-
806. No. No.
He's like,
I got to start over again.
Maybe we should play. Should we try playing? No, let me just ask you first. Is this a hard R movie or is it rated R? Is it PG-13?
It is a hard R movie, but I did a TV
Okay.
edit. So I cut out all the nudity. I left the language in. I also cut out about 20 minutes of the film, simply because it's part of the deal that I want to make going forward with other filmmakers, where like I want it to be a win-win for everybody, where I get a film to show on the show, and they get something out of it because I get to promote the DVD, and I'm not giving away the farm, so to speak. So I cut out 20 minutes and the nudity, and also I put a couple of plugs during the episode to buy it on DVD, so you could see the uncut film.
And then you got to be careful with YouTube, who are very, you can't just put anything on YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the Wild West like it was in whatever 2007.
But this way, if people are still curious about the movie, there's somewhere they can go to see the complete uncut film, and also watch the show at the same time.
The reason I ask is because I saw you posted a clip on Twitter, and I think this might end my career.
But you can't play that.
So, well, I might be able to. Let me see.
This is not on me.
I'll cross my fingers.
You told us not to swear. You're going to play something naughty?
Don't swear. Do not swear. Let me see if I can do this. I got to optimize for the video clip. I got to share the sound. This is going to be weird at first. It's Tom Snyder. Wait, hold on.
Well, that is weird.
That's weird.
Watch a
I
little
know
of that.
you enjoy, and it must be a kick for you to do that.
Well, Casino is, this is the height of my career. I mean, aside from doing Kelly's Heroes some 28 years ago.
It's like in
in
1984 when my dad
Yugoslavia
was
telling Clint.
What was that?
See, we did the scene with Clinton. He does like De Niro. They
here.
do the same type of method acting. You say, how do you feel, Charlie? Where's the sergeant? And Clint goes, and you go, I said,
Anyway, I just got to watch the great Tom Snyder. You guys still hear me?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're going to try. Am I at the beginning of this thing?
On the next episode of Mondo Creepy.
Tonight, I have something very special to present to you. A new film that's making its broadcast premiere on this very show. A genuine film that's not in the public domain. Not some public domain piece of crap. You know, the kind of crap that we usually show. Really? Tonight, we're watching Ghoul Scout Zombie Massacre.
What kind of movie is
future
this?
Film classic in the tradition of Shawshank Redemption.
That was it, right? All right, one got through. But that is Mondo Creepy. Tomorrow at 11 p.m. on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Awesome.
How long did it take you to put it all together?
Well, this one took a little longer simply because I wanted to put a bit more. I'm trying to step up my production value game each time. So every episode, I want to kind of up the polish on it. So I took a little bit longer. Also, I had a computer issue, as you know of, and that had to be settled. And once that took place, then I had to like redo a whole bunch of files and find a bunch of old files. So this one took about 5 weeks.
And the host of the show, we should mention, is Lilith Von Bloodworth.
Yeah.
Played by actress.
Jennifer Laura Welch.
Fourth time around with this.
Fourth
I got to
time
ask you guys, how come you guys didn't laugh at Don Rickles? What's the matter with you guys?
I laughed.
All right, you know what it was? I could hear the audio, but I couldn't see you guys laughing.
I laughed, but I got kicked out of Zoom somehow, so I had to come back in.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry for that awkwardness. I didn't know what was going on there. So, all right. So that's a Mondo Creepy tomorrow at 11 p.m.
If you're a fan of USA Up All Night, because I sort of consider the show as a spiritual successor to that, this is definitely our most USA Up All Night-ish episode yet.
And it's kind of amazing to me. We had
And it's
mentioned
that kind of film as well.
we had mentioned Shudder before, right? Now I don't have Shudder. I had it and didn't have it. I had it, didn't have it. But I'm on Twitter for my other podcast, right? Because I do an entertainment sort of podcast, and like every Friday or Saturday night, it's it's Larry Dwyer talking about whatever Joe Bob Briggs is talking about, right? That's like Shudder has become like a huge thing,
Yep.
right?
They certainly have. I was
Bob's on right now.
Yeah, I was a beta tester for them, like when they obviously before they even started. There was like 12 movies to choose from at that time. So they've certainly come a heck of a long way since then. And adding Joe Bob, kind of resurrecting the old Monster Vision format has really really put them through the roof.
It seems they're interesting to me because they seem to specifically target old guys like us and women. Like they seem to be targeting a specific demographic that grew up in the 80s and came of age in the 90s, right? Is that generally right? Because it's like Joe Bob Briggs. Oh, Elvira's back.
Well, I think they started that way, but now they're aiming towards a much younger audience. I think you're right. I think pulling Joe Bob in was to get our type of people in, but now that they've got us in, they're really because they do a lot of licensing for new films now. They get a lot of stuff.
I was about to say that if you look at their lineup of original films right now, it all skews young.
Yep, they buy a lot of new stuff now. Whereas, at the beginning it was all older 80s, 70s films. Now they're buying tons and tons of new stuff.
But even the films that they have, like the appeal, I think, of those films, if you look at the casts are always 20-something-ish for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It's always there's always a sort of a social media thing that's been going on as the theme through a lot of their newer stuff.
Yeah,
it's skewering young.
Yeah, so I think they probably had a path that they wanted to follow, and that was kind of it. First, let's get the diehard horror fans in, and now let's target on the new guys, the new horror fans. So, and it's working. It worked. They've got a great platform going.
Do you guys think horror movies and horror, whatever, the genre itself, has ever been as popular as it is right now?
I don't know. I don't know. Not in my lifetime. I don't think it's had the reach in my lifetime that it has now. It's insane right now. Just the amount of product out there. Like I am just getting every day literally dozens of emails from companies putting out new toys, new figures, new this, that, vans with the new horror shoes collection. Like it is just all over the place right now. It's bigger than it's been in my lifetime. I wasn't there in the 50s when my dad was at the Majestic downtown Bridgeport watching the Blob and the Tingler. So I don't know what it was like back then, but in my lifetime, it's more popular than it's been.
And even with Netflix, I mean, they had I didn't watch any of those Fear 94 or whatever it was. It's almost unescapable.
It is
at this point. And my question, why now?
Oh, well, it hurts to say, but The Walking Dead really ushered it in 10 years ago. That was definitely the beginning of horror back into the mainstream. And it's just grown and grown since then. And it's been incredible to watch. It's really amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Like everywhere you go, it's just all horror. Everything is horror.
Pine of Comics reviews more horror movies than they do comics.
No, that's not true. We do our stuff with Larry. I mean, but you know what? I'll say this, and this isn't like me leaning in on my show, but like all the episodes we do with Larry are always, like, to me, and I think, and I've gotten some feedback, some of the better ones, because I think, besides Larry being really good, I think the subject matter, is it expands upon being talked about, because horror movies can be so many different things. You know what I mean? Like we just did an episode that unfortunately I lost about a killer tire, Rubber, right? Now, was it a horror movie in the end? I don't know, but it's classified as one. And it's just bonkers, BS insane.
Yeah.
And then we do stuff like, the 1931 Frankenstein. And it seems to me there's a depth and a breadth in that genre. And it's fun to talk about. You guys
did Fright Night a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Fright Night. I mean, it's just, there's so much, maybe there's no other genre where the variety is as great as horror. You might have different types of action movies, but there's only so many. You might have different comedies, but horror, I mean, there could be a lot there.
I was amazed. I play Fortnite, me and a bunch of 10-year-old boys who just, what are you, 25, old man? How? I'm like, oh, I don't tell my age, but they totally humiliate me and then kill me and dance on me. Anyway, Frankenstein's monster is now a character. You can buy his skin in Fortnite, which is totally that's how like mainstream this is all become.
How much is the Frankenstein skin?
I think, well, I don't know. It's V-Bucks or something like that. I don't know what the exchange is. You know, I sold my dog. Okay. I sold the dog and I got the skin. I swear though, I think it's like a reflection, like, you know, it sort of feels in some ways, that we're heading towards like this dystopian society a little bit with a pandemic and all the political unrest and everybody at each other's throats. I think horror is an outlet. I think it's our subliminally, we're all reacting to that, but that's my armchair.
Look at
sorry.
Just real quick. Look at the fandom of horror in terms of, so like for Piney Comics, I have an Instagram page that I'm pretty active on, and I've got a lot of, you know, people I follow, and through doing the horror stuff, I follow a lot of people that are, I guess, horror fans, or like Larry said, some of the companies, Fright Rags and stuff that make the horror, you know, clothes and everything. But I'll say this about the horror fandom, more so than even comic fandom, or, you know, is the fervor is insane. Like this month, it's October. I can't tell you how many, like in July, you know, just from horror fans, I'm seeing like, you know, 60 more days till October 1st, you know, like, and then when October 1st comes, it's like 31 days of horror. I'm going to watch a horror movie every day for 31 days. You know, like people don't do, like, there isn't like, you know, Star Trek September, you know what I mean? Like, but like October, and I think it's a phrase I've heard more and more over the last couple of years being used, is spooky season. Like, it's not even Halloween anymore. It's officially spooky season once you get into like mid-September through like maybe the beginning of November.
Some people say September 1st.
Yeah.
And it also feels like, you know, it used to be like Fangoria or, so, you know, Mike Gingold or Tony Timpone would do an interview. Oh, here are some like underrated horror movies maybe you've missed over the years. But now you turn on your TV, it's like Freeform has a 24-hour-a-day horror fest going on of PG-13 horror movies. Sci-Fi is like Jason 24 hours a day. Like, it's just round the clock. Is there anything still to discover out there?
Well,
or it'll be some Italian giallo movie or some North Korean zombie flick where it's like, you know, like a real snuff film. Other than that, and the people love to bring that up. Oh, did you see this from North Korea? Shut up.
For me, the biggest testament as far as the popularity of horror right now is for the commercial breaks, which are really a big part of the show. I like to play independent trailers from independent horror films.
On Mondo Creepy you're talking about.
On Mondo Creepy. And I'm looking all the time for them, and there's just an endless supply, just an endless stream of independent horror filmmakers out there, most of which will never make a dime on their films or will be seen by very few people. But there's so many out there because I see the trailers. I mean, most of them don't meet my criteria that I've set for the show, but there's just an endless amount of them, more so than there's probably ever been, especially at least in the last, you know, who knows. And I think a part of that has to do with the technology, with how easy it is to make a film these days.
Yep.
But it's also sort of become a rallying cry for the horror community as well.
Yeah. I mean, in the 80s, you had tons and tons of your straight to VHS. You know, there was that whole straight to VHS, revolution, which now people are getting into. That's like a whole other new subgenre. Mm-hmm. Like, people are just revisiting these awful straight to, I mean, I say awful, but Truth or Dare, Critical Mass is amazing. Like, you know.
I'm not a fan of SOVs, but
some of them.
Some of them. Yeah. There's actually one or two I would like to put on the show, to be honest with you. But what you've got now, there's this subgenre of fan out there that actually buys these things. It's amazing.
Right. And to your point, horror is so big right now, and the technology, it's much easier to shoot a movie today than it was 30 years ago. Everybody's out there making horror movies. So like you said, you've got your pick of trailers because there's so many people out there making films right now.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like, that's, you know, there's pluses and minuses to everything, right? Because horror is so popular right now, everything's super expensive. Any t-shirts are $30, and, you know, it's crazy. But the plus side to it is that there's tons and tons of new filmmakers making horror films, and some of those people will be the future of films a couple of years from now, and that's great.
So wait, this straight to video stuff you were talking about. I mean, I worked in a video store that was, I mean, it was actually a criminal front for a white collar criminal who embezzled $365 million from Philip Morris Tobacco. But it was VHS, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't really care about. I ordered movies and what's like an example? Is this all the stuff like Vinegar Syndrome brings in all these like
Sometimes.
Okay.
So, yeah, sometimes they get some of that. Like I always point to, I just said it before, Truth or Dare, a Critical Mass. That's like.
Oh, that was a movie? I thought I didn't know what you were saying there.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite straight to video, shot on video actually. Horror films.
Oh, that's what you're talking like. Oh, I thought
Like
you meant
this-
just like
yeah.
cheap movies that went straight to video, but you're talking like do it yourself,
Yeah.
zero budget.
Yep.
Fairview Falls, one of my favorites. That's really the only one I know. Glenn
Yeah.
Baisley.
Glenn Baisley, Fairview
Yeah,
Falls, absolutely. Yeah. What? Michael Gingrel's the Suckling, whatever.
Yes.
Those kind of movies, those are fun, and that has a big there's people getting into those for the first time right now. Bleeding Skull just put out a brand new book talking about all their favorite 1990s, early 90s or 80s, I don't remember, shot on video movies.
There's a company, there's a guy, Tony Masiello, I believe his name is. He has a distribution company and he only does SOVs. I've actually ran a couple of trailers from his company on my show.
God, you learn so much. Hey, let me interrupt. And we got to talk about Scary Larry Dwyer's double feature he has coming up in Seymour, Connecticut on October 23rd. Tickets available now at ConnecticutCultClassics.com. Is that the website? Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did. You got to
Okay.
spell out Connecticut though. Very important. Otherwise, you're not getting there.
Or use Google or go to Facebook
Yeah,
or
you can do
whatever.
that. You'll
Sick
find
of-
it.
You're
Just
on your own,
search.
people.
Just do a
Okay, we
search.
had Eve Anderson give us a hi.
Oh, hey Eve.
We had Tim Selinsky. What's your favorite Halloween song? This is a great question. Any Ozzy, Black Sabbath? I think those are. I think he's saying. Oh, anything by Ozzy or Black Sabbath is his favorite Halloween song.
Sure.
So I know of the five of us, Larry, you are the most musically inclined.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know that for a fact, but I do have a favorite Halloween
I totally
song,
assumed
of
that.
course.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just slighted Matt, and it's the beards.
No.
I assume anybody with a full beard isn't musically inclined.
Yeah, no, my favorite
I actually played
Halloween
the song.
song would be Halloween by the Misfits. Easy enough.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's
In fact, I was
easy.
going to say any Misfit song is technically a Halloween song.
Right. Or you can say Halloween too, which is Halloween but in Latin. Go for
Is
it.
that what that
Whichever
is?
one you want. Yes. Yeah.
John, do you have a favorite Halloween song?
I don't know if I have a favorite Halloween song, but I would say that a song that fills me with like a sense of dread when I hear it is the Black Sabbath, right? The first Black Sabbath song.
Yes.
Yeah.
That song is legitimately frightening. It's sonically frightening, and it's there aren't many songs that I find that with, but like that song is foreboding. Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard that, I think it had to be 6th or 7th grade. And yeah, it legit, I felt like I was doing something wrong. I turned it down so my parents wouldn't hear it. But that
Yeah.
first Black Sabbath album.
Yeah, it's got the rain in the background. It's a super creepy song. Great song.
And then as you get older, it's like half their songs are just like about don't kill the environment. It's like Ozzy was like a tree hugger environmentalist.
Anti-war, like a lot of anti-war songs.
Yeah.
The original band name was Earth.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Right. Well, they're a 60s band, man. So, people don't realize they were hippies. They really were.
Love Black Sabbath.
Oh,
Just
sure.
love Black Sabbath.
Absolutely.
Brian Spears, 6 minutes ago, I'm not exactly what he's referring to, but he says Larry's a sellout.
All right.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Brian also says Judge Dredd is a great action film.
It is.
So Spears is on the set somewhere, just watching this on his phone,
Talking
trolling us. Yeah. Eve Anderson's horror has so many subgenres. Brian Spears says new horror is Goosebumps. I thought the best description of Malignant that came out a couple of weeks ago on HBO Max. I hated it too.
I still haven't seen it.
Oh, it's so bad.
Somebody on Twitter.
Are we spelling new horror
With an NU?
like new metal, like with the umlaut?
And we should, right?
Well, that's what. Yeah, somebody called. Yeah,
Us old
Malignant is
guys.
new horror, like
Us
a
old
Limp
guys.
Biscuit.
Yeah.
Brian Spears, you shouldn't need a time or season to watch horror. Hipsters watch horror during October. Oh, we got a very bitter Brian Spears going on.
Hey, Spears, go get a COVID test.
Spears must have been. He's been working since like 5 a.m. Eve
His
Anderson.
his nose is all raw from the Q-tips. They've been swirling around in there.
They've been
Eve
slobbing his brain so much he's punch drunk on the Twitter.
He's got somebody agreeing with him though. Chris Ramirez says, "True. Watching horror movies and reading horror books is an all-year activity."
You don't think I agree? Of course I agree. That's what I've been doing for 40 years.
I mean, the truth is, I think most horror movies are just unwatchable. All right, and then Eve Anderson's back in the 90s when I worked at the video store. I would watch The Faces of Death. Oh yeah. Oh God. I don't know if we want to get into that too much. I'll get my funding pulled. But all the Faces of Death, you grow up and it's all fake.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple. The first one
maybe.
had some real stuff, but then they got fake as it went along.
You know how
Right.
Larry does it all year round is he has a tattoo of the basket case guy. Like he's gonna tattoo of that guy on him. So he's obviously not an October 1 to 31 guy.
Yeah, I was hoping you would do this this interview shirtless and show off all those horror tats. You know, I saw. Oh, by the way, Larry, thanks for retweeting this on Twitter. I really appreciate your promotion there. I got Larry at work.
I did.
I need some of those.
I?
No,
I thought I
you
did.
didn't.
I'm kind of hoping your tattoo is just a picture of Larry Cohen.
Yes. I wish I had a
Larry
tattoo of
Holmes,
Larry.
the boxer.
No,
Cohen,
Larry
Larry
Cohen.
Cohen.
But I would get Larry Holmes too. Why not? He beat Jerry Cooney soundly. I'll get that.
Who didn't?
The arm sleeve of Larry's.
No, there's that great Jerry Cooney was on O&A back in the day.
Yeah.
I think it was Jerry Cooney, and I think he hit Jim Norton, just like hit him once in the left arm just to show him.
Yeah.
It's amazing the power those dudes have.
Jerry Cooney was a strong puncher. That's very
He
strong.
does a show on the boxing channel on Sirius.
Really?
He does a show, yeah.
That's awesome.
Brian Spears, he has some bad words to say about Glenn Baisley, even though it's said with love. They're actually friends. John Amato says, good Halloween song. Only play this after dark by Dougie Fresh.
All right. Do some Dougie Fresh. Sure. Why not?
Eve Anderson says, so much hate for Malignant. I really need to watch it. And Brian Spears says, got a COVID test today. Yeah, that man is the most COVID tested.
Yeah,
and it's good. He's got to touch famous actors.
Yep.
He's a makeup artist, not a, whatever. All right. So let's talk about the double feature coming up Saturday, October 23rd at the Strand Theater in Seymour, Connecticut, right? This is the Valley Independent Sentinel. We're based in Durham. We're based in my basement right now, even though I have an office in Seymour right next to the Strand. But I mean, first of all, the Strand has so many good things coming up. Like, I mean, tomorrow they're showing Hocus Pocus for like $7.50. You can go see that. It's also going to be playing at outdoors in Shelton later this month. Please go to valleyindy.org. Look under extra extra, or if you're on your phone, it's like the fourth thing you'll see. There's 20 things to do, you and your family, on Halloween. And it's like the Strand has Hocus Pocus, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Beetlejuice, and then Larry comes in, takes it over on the 23rd. What are we going to see?
Coming in hard on the 23rd with Troma double feature. We're going to do obviously the Toxic Avenger.
Obviously.
And then for Matt, New Jersey over there, we'll do the Toxic Avenger. And then I had for the opener, I had to do a vote. We did a vote online because I couldn't really decide. So I let people choose between Class of Nukem High. What was the other one, John? Tromeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
I remember when you did that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tromeo and Juliet got like a vote. So good for Tromeo, but Class of Nukem High got all the rest.
I think I voted Class of Nukem High as well.
I think everybody did except for my buddy Sean from Horror News Network. I think he was the one who voted for Tromeo and Juliet. But so yeah, it's going to be Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High on the 23rd.
I was watching Toxic Avenger. First of all, I mean, that was a movie that I loved as a kid. Because again, like listening to Black Sabbath's first album, my face is probably really bright, but I was trying to share your page. Let me see if I can do this right now. I don't have to share that. So you go to Connecticut if you want to buy. Oh, that's not working. What is that? Never mind. Who's using Chrome? Anyway, go to ConnecticutCultClassics.com to buy. I don't know how to use Zoom. All right, I'm not John Marini, the Ansonia Corporation Counsel. Leave me alone. But you watch it now, and it's like, man, this is a rough movie. Talk about your hard R. Holy cow! It's like it makes Andrew Dice Clay look like Little Bo Peep. This is a tough movie. It's humorous, I hope. But did you ever worry, Larry, Scary Larry, about any type of blowback from having a movie like The Toxic Avenger play?
No, the people who are coming to this know what to expect. I don't think anybody's going to be there that doesn't expect the Toxic Avenger to be crazy or Class of Nukem High to be, those early Troma movies are pretty raunchy.
Unless you've just seen the cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. I think the current Troma movies are pretty raunchy. So there's, if you're familiar with Troma at all, I think you should know what to expect. But I do, because sometimes, I know you wouldn't know because you don't come to the shows there, Eugene. But sometimes people bring their
I
kids.
only have you on my podcast and expose you to our 12 viewers.
No, I'm just letting you know since you don't come that sometimes people bring their kids. So I do throw out.
Larry, you don't want me
warnings.
coming to your shows. We've
Oh,
gone
sure
over.
I
I was
do.
thrown out of David Letterman in 1996. You don't want me going.
We were the only theater, well, not theater. I was the only person to show Victor Crowley when it released in Connecticut. And Marini bought tickets for him and his kids, and I literally mailed them back to him. I was like, John, you don't want to bring the kid, because I had already seen it. And I knew that there was a part that he wouldn't want his kids to see. So I always let people know when I know they're going to bring their kids. Hey, like I'll even walk around the trailers that we show. We show trailers before each movie, and I'll be like, "Hey, third trailer, cover his eyes over there."
Yeah,
Like,
and let me interrupt you because I kind of pulled a reporter thing and kind of stabbed you with the moral outrage there. Hey, that's my job. But I mean, on the other hand, what's his name? Lloyd Kaufman. Hero, First Amendment hero, hero to independent cinema, hero to the little guy everywhere for going on like 40 years now.
Lloyd Kaufman retweeted Mondo Creepy this afternoon.
He's the type of guy.
Awesome.
Hero.
And I've done this where you can go up to him at a horror convention. You can stick an iPhone in his face and just interview him about anything. And he's just he's like caught off guard for a second, but a really smart guy. Like that guy's intelligence. I mean, he makes these total schlock movies, or he did back in the day.
Right.
But I don't know. Did anybody see the last Blockbuster on Netflix?
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
He was not happy in that one.
I don't blame him. I
but
agree
they
with
made it-
everything he said.
Yeah,
He's 100% right. Yeah, absolutely.
That movie, it really made, first as somebody who worked at a Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster wasn't, the one I worked in, it wasn't a warm, fuzzy place that you looked forward. It was retail, man. It was hellish.
Well,
The
I worked at a mom and pop video store that got shut down because of that got shut down because a Blockbuster went in the same town. I worked at Channel 1 Video in Bridgeport. When the Blockbuster on Boston Avenue went up, we were gone within like 6 months.
I would almost say guaranteed that like the four of us are within like a 5-year age range of each other. The last Blockbuster wasn't a movie. Yeah, you're 34. It wasn't a movie meant for us. It was meant for people 5 to 7 years younger than us.
Probably.
Because we grew up. I mean, yeah, of course I did go to Blockbuster because they started to phase everything else out. But when I was a kid, I was going to our video in Middletown all the time. I was going to, Video Galaxy and stuff like that. And I know all of you guys were too.
Video Magic.
But those
Video
people,
Forum, baby.
Yeah, that last Blockbuster
I had to order the dirty movies, which was always it was right out of Clerks.
The dirty movies at our video in Middletown were behind saloon doors.
And because I was the manager,
So,
I just want to make that clear. I managed the video store.
Very important.
Sorry. I interrupted you, John. Were you done with that thought? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the X-rated section was behind saloon doors in the back of the store.
Ours were in blue books. You had to go out, and this was Somers, New York, right? And so we had like New York City weathermen who would do they were TV personalities. They'd come in, and if you wanted to rent a dirty movie, you had to open the book in front of the entire store. It was weird, like almost Puritan. You had to walk through. Yes.
Shame.
Speaking of which, great documentary just came out on HBO Max, executive produced by Monica Lewinsky, called 15 Minutes of Shame. And it's like this guy at the beginning of the pandemic who New York Times did an article on him, and he had like 20,000 bottles of hand sanitizer that he was hoarding.
Yeah.
But it interviews the guy and talk. He served in Iraq, Afghanistan, PTSD. Serious mental health issues. And he was like, I started selling things on eBay because basically, he could handle that and do it, and he could make a living for his family. And it's just really great to watch the 15 minutes of shame on HBO Max when you get a chance. But I wanted to ask you, Mr. Dwyer.
Yeah.
What like giveaways and stuff? Because you're right. I haven't been to one of your shows, basically because the Strand has a restraining order against me when I saw Artie Lang there a couple of years ago. I don't want to get into that. But what's like some of the stuff? Like, why should people show up?
Oh,
Look at that.
Little autographed Lloyd Kaufman 8x10. That's one of them.
I love that.
Got a couple copies of Lloyd's book, All I Need to Know About Filmmaking I Learned from the Toxic Avenger. We've got some gift certificates from Sacred Art Tattoo in Seymour. We got a bunch of stuff, man. We always get some really good stuff for the raffles. I got some posters, some Class of Newcomb High posters. Got all sorts of stuff. We're gonna have VIP tickets to Friday the 13th fan film premiere here in Connecticut.
Which Friday the 13th fan film?
Roseblood.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, that he was at CT Horror Fest, right? Yeah, really nice guy.
Yep. He's throwing a couple of VIP tickets to his premiere. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff. Weirdo Wonderland from Milford's gonna throw some gift certificates in. We always do raffle. Listen, showing the movies is great, right? Because people our age, I mean, I got to see most of this stuff in the drive-in or in the movie theater. Kids didn't. They never, it's one thing, you can watch it at home. Of course, you can watch Toxic Avenger on your TV, but seeing it in a theater with, 150 like-minded people is a whole different experience. And I like to make that experience even more fun by throwing raffles in, throwing in crazy trailers, some nutty giveaways, music, making a whole experience out of it, a whole night out of it. So it's great that we're able to throw the raffles in there, and it's just part of the experience, man. It's a great time.
Downtown Seymour is awesome. Like a local plug. I know Matt is out there in Jersey, fancy New Jersey out there, Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Super fancy.
Bergen County, wherever he is.
Yep.
Ocean County.
But you got, I'm going to say the name wrong, and the guy's my landlord. Zoe's Pizza.
Yep.
That's one, yeah. And then you've got Jimmy's right next door. Yep. Great old school.
Regal Beagle atmosphere.
Jimmy's is the Regal Beagle of Seymour. The second show I ever went to, The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. We kind of got there early, and there was 4 of us, and we were like, what are we going to do? Let's go get a beer. There's this little quaint place, Jimmy's. Let's go in there. You open the door, and it literally feels like you've entered 1983. Like, the beer is as cheap as it was back then. The upholstery with the red leather upholstery with the buttonings is all there, and it's just this place is incredible. This place is incredible.
I've heard they have good food too. I've never had it, but I heard they have good food.
Oh yeah. No, there's a reason they've been there for so long. Jimmy sort of reminds me when I romanticize it. There's the scene in Pulp Fiction where Bruce Willis is at the bar.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he meets John Travolta, then the bartender, whose name is I forget the actor's name. And this
y'all. Yeah.
All right, no cursing. Yes. It reminds me. It looks like my wood panel gross derby house. That's what it's like. But yeah. So So Johnny Menta from Behind the Comics. What is it like? Why do you keep going to all these screenings? What do you get out of it? Because I know you've been to a whole bunch of these double features that Larry puts on once a week now. It feels like.
Yeah, I've only missed one in the 4 years I've been going. I don't know. I tell the story sometimes. And it's ironic because I went the first time to see the Friday the 13th double feature 2 and 3 with a friend of mine who's a big Friday the 13th fan, and I saw Larry's ad on Facebook, and I didn't know what it was. I've never even been to Seymour. So I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to get my buddy for a Christmas gift. It was Friday the 13th, January, so following Christmas. So I got the tickets for it. Thought he's going to love this, and it was kind of the opposite. We went, and I think he had a good time, but I had a great time. And I remember walking in, and the first thing that hit me about the place is, again, my age. I grew up in Middletown, and the movie theater was the Middletown Twin Cinema. So I have an affinity for those old school small theaters, and the Strand is even smaller than that, one screen. So you walk in there and it's got this old school vibe. And then, it's Larry is over there. They had Jason Mask cupcakes out. What is going on here? It's this is a party, and everybody is like-minded. And I'm not, I'm not of the horror community per se, but I'm seeing all these people comparing tattoos. And I'm this place is pretty cool. And then as the night went on, there was a flub with Friday the 13th 3 where it started playing in Spanish for the first 15 minutes, and they couldn't figure it out.
Yes.
And the audience was into it. They were leave it. We'll be fine watching all this. And the trailers, the first one I went to, Larry showed a trailer Dear God No or something.
Yeah.
Like these crazy bikers and nuns, and I don't know.
I've seen the sequel to that. I've seen
Yeah.
the sequel.
Frankenstein created
Created bikers, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I thought this is a really cool thing that they're doing for, you know, a very low amount of money for 2 movies. And then, like, you know, the next one, he at that night said, you know, we're going to do it in 2 months again, and it's going to be The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. And that's not even like an option. Like, I'm going to that. And just, you know, through getting to know Larry and Mike Simonetta and Sean and the whole crew. And then we started getting him on the radio show, because I found the whole thing fascinating. It was kind of initially like very fascinating that you're putting these things together and people are coming to it. And then it was just like, it's just fun. It's just a good time. You're missing out, Eugene. I'm telling you right now.
I'm there in spirit.
He is there in spirit. He is.
But like now the Strand Theater, I mean, that's the Valley's only movie theater now, because
it is, right?
Entertainment Cinemas in Tri-Town Plaza closed down, which is a real bummer, because that's why I was taking my kid to go see all those new sort of terrible Star Wars movies. But it was still nice to do it. Like every Christmas, you'd go see a Star Wars movie. But I wanted to ask Larry, because you're also affiliated with the Horror News Network.
Yep.
And you guys just put on CT Horror Fest at the Naugatuck Event Center with September 18th. I was there all day. I had a table with my good friend Brian Spears. We were next to the Pint of Comics guys, who I was just jealous over the amount of attention they had, because Lloyd was there. I didn't realize Lloyd Green is like, you know, 1976 John Travolta, I guess. I didn't realize that. Yeah. But I mean, it was crowded, Larry.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was successful. I mean, assume, I'm not like trying to probe you for details, but it was a successful. I was amazed. I thought, like, what's his name had canceled? The guy, Keith David or David Keith?
Yeah.
Right. Which one is it? I always forget his name. Keith David from The Thing, They Live, Platoon. He canceled like at almost the last.
Men at Work.
So okay, all right. So we have different tastes. All right, I'm a little snobby. I'm going to say
I love that movie.
Same here.
I'm going to.
Somebody threw away a perfectly good white boy.
The commie bastard gets no food.
This is why I don't know. I gotta do something. But like, I'm like, oh, but it's gonna be bad. There's not gonna be anybody here. And it was way more crowded than it was in 2019. It was much more crowded than it was when you were at the Danbury Ice Arena, former home of the Danbury Trashers.
Yep.
See our past podcast from me talking about that, where Spears tried to like start a fight with them at a bar, which is not smart.
No, you don't fight hockey players.
No, never.
No.
So my question though, all right, so I've been going to horror conventions since the early 90s, you know, in New York City, Fangoria and all that. And part of the fun when you go to horror conventions so much is just like gossiping about the convention itself. Do you think, and you don't have to answer this, but are you at the point, is the organization at the point where you might have to go to a bigger, because it was so successful, you might have to go to a bigger venue?
We've talked about it. Yeah.
That was like a 7-minute introduction there. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And it's a great question, because I mean, we had this was our 7th year, right? And we started out very small in a very small hotel in Waterbury. I
was there.
Oh, you were at that first one?
Yeah.
It was fun, but it was small.
It was small. It was really narrow. It was
Yep. And we quickly moved it out of there and been lucky enough to grow every year. Last year, obviously, had to cancel because of COVID. So we really weren't sure what to expect this year. A year off, did people forget about us? Are people going to be scared to come out? You know, because Connecticut didn't really have strict mask laws. You know, the governor was kind of like, let the cities do what the cities want to do.
Little wishy-washy. You don't know.
Yeah. So we weren't sure what to expect, but we did know that pre-sale tickets were higher than they'd ever been.
Wow.
But we still were questioning, well, is that because the people who normally come day of decided to buy their tickets? Is it going to be about the same? We really didn't know what to expect. And like you said, Keith David canceled like a week before.
It was pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a week before.
Which happens. We're not bad mouthing the guy.
All the time.
Yeah.
We're lucky. We've been super lucky over the years with cancellations. We had our very first year, Linda Blair canceled the day before. That was like the biggest cancellation we'd ever had. But Keith David canceled the week before. But then as luck would have it, like a day after that, James Jude Courtney's people reached out to us and we're like, hey, he's going to be in the area. You know, the guy who plays the new Michael Myers. So we were like, well, yeah, send him over. No problem. So that was a big thing. So to answer your question, we did not know what to expect. We got a lot more people than we'd ever gotten before. You know, we got the people that pre-sold, but then also had a line of thousands of people down the block for the majority of the day.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was insane. It was really insane.
That's great, man.
No, it was great. It was a huge success. As always, there were some issues. The building's older, AC broke and started pouring water on some people.
I almost died. I almost dropped.
Which nobody wants.
I'm not in the best of shape.
Yeah, you almost dropped. I was running like top speed for like 12 hours. So there, yeah, we're having some discussions. We're having discussions with the current venue about possible repairs. We're having discussions
Come on, Mayor Pete
internally.
Hess, get on it.
Discussions internally about whether, you know, we should take the next step and do a lot. But, you know, let's also think, you say a larger facility. This facility is 80,000 square feet. It's a big facility. So even your, you know, Excel centers and things aren't much bigger than that. So, you know, but we're having discussions right now because we're gonna have to announce a date pretty soon. So I think you'll know pretty soon what our decision is on that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This year's attendance caused us to have some discussions that we didn't think we'd have to have for maybe a few more years.
And it's tough. Like, I mean, if you wanted to stay a local, there's not many options in terms of
Absolutely.
venues or anything like that. Maybe,
Right.
you know, hey, maybe that's something, if there's any economic development people watching, that seems to be, their event space seems to be in demand.
There's not much
locally.
of it.
You
There's
can't go
not
anywhere.
much of it. Yeah,
Unless
there's
you go
not
out to the
much of it.
casinos, and that's too far to drive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You're
And I don't want to
going-
reignite that my gambling problem. I don't need that.
Right. Casinos, Hartford, like that's really it, man. Like there's not much more in Connecticut. So, you know, we're looking at other, you know, we're talking about it, but we'll know pretty soon what we're going to do. But it's nice to have that problem, right? It's nice to have
Right.
those conversations. So, because we had some issues this year, so we need to make sure wherever we go, those issues are fixed, because the most important thing is that everybody has a good time. And that's what it has to be. So if we stay at the same venue, there's some fixes that Naugatuck needs to make. If we go somewhere else, it's because it's the most comfortable situation for our attendees. And that's it.
And I was pretty surprised, you know, as like a reporter who likes to observe things and a gossip at heart. You know, I was on your face on the CT Horror Fest Facebook page, and there were no complaints. I mean, there were some complaints, but not. You know, I mean, when you go to a Monster Mania, it's like they just start deleting them after a while because people go nuts. It was nothing like that.
Yeah.
So you have, like, it seems like whatever level or however many people attended, it's a good, manageable, very, I was going to say cultish, but very devoted following that you have going on there. So that's all positive, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say, honestly, 29 out of 30 comments were positive.
Yeah.
And most of the ones that were negative, they had a point. They weren't wrong. You know, it was a complaint about the heat or a complaint about, you know, things that happened throughout the day.
Amenta's behavior. I don't know if we want to get into that.
Yeah, I got
there was a
weird.
lot of complaints from women who couldn't get close enough to Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big problem for a lot of women. You know, they were like, listen, you need to get closer to the Manster next year.
It did. We did. You know, I have this other podcast. It's called Insufferable Bastards, and we had a booth there. And at one point, we did just like a live stream just to see if it would work. You know, because it's like there's, you know, Valley India doesn't have a lot of money, so I try to do different stuff where I can fail. You know, so if it doesn't work there, at least it's not like during something news wise. But it actually, like, it got decent views. Like, there were a lot of people watching it. And I noticed, and I don't know, John, if you had the same experience, but like the episodes that I recorded at the convention, definitely there's a bump. It's not like, you know, I get like 100 downloads for that podcast, but it's an increase after every convention. We saw it in 2009 in a big way. I mean, 2019 in a big way, and felt it again. John, did you have any, this is really off Halloween, but whatever. Did you get a bump?
I got a bump probably based on maybe people coming to the table and checking us out. We planned on doing some recording there, and I had a problem with a piece of equipment, so we didn't record. But we did trivia all day long, and we had people at our table all day long.
Yeah, you guys were like a rolling party. You're really annoying me and Spears. It was just like this.
You know what? We had a really good time, and people really reacted to it. I went the night before to Big Lots and spent $20 on about 25 movies that were like $1.50 or $3 that you've never heard of before. James Vanderbeek versus a giant squid, right? And I just put them all on the table. We got a bunch of dollar comic books, and Larry lent us a slash cards, a trivia game. And
I didn't realize you had an inside track going on there.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to buy one. I said,
that must be nice. I had 2 tables. What did I get?
Yeah, you guys had a good time. You guys
pat on the back. Thanks for coming.
You guys recorded.
You put me next to the True Crime podcast. They left early.
You guys recorded like 9 episodes that day.
Hey, listen, I should interrupt. There were all these, we had a couple of people comment, and they're all hidden. I'm like, what the heck's going on? But it's all people mentioning the word porn, because we talked about porn earlier, and people saying our local video store had those beaded curtains separating the porn section. Spears' last blockbuster is more of a celebration of the video store, not the corporation. Fair. All right. Spears says my porn was in my basement too, responding to somebody else. So that's getting pretty personal in the comments here. All right. I guess. There's a whole bunch of other comments. Let me just see what else is going on here real quick.
We're blowing up.
Men at Work sucks. I agree. That's
Who
of course
said that?
Spears.
Yeah,
Spears.
okay.
Who else?
Go watch Serpico.
Yeah, stop.
Okay. I mean, that's not an insult, Johnny Amenta. Telling someone to go watch Serpico instead of Men at Work.
Because that's all you
that
guys
says
do.
more about you and your taste than it does us.
All day long. How many times does your wife ask you to stop watching Kramer versus Kramer? I just imagine it's like another 70s movie, Eugene. Can we please watch The Last Dinosaur today?
You know, I didn't want to do this, but I have to.
Pleasure to me. I love Judge Dredd. I absolutely love Judge Dredd.
Hopefully thankfully there's no cursing. But you know what I want to ask you guys, since we're all the same age, and I mean, we're doing this an hour, we should wrap it up, but I did a 7-week free thing through Amazon Prime of the Paramount Network, just to watch Real World Season 1. Like they did another episode. They all went back to New York now at basically our age, right? Because that came out in 92, 93. Yeah. So they're all in their late 40s. And then I watched The Challenge OG, where they ranged in age from 34 to 40 or 50. Did any of you watch any of these, like the Real World reunion stuff?
No. I auditioned for the Real World, but I didn't watch it.
Wait a second. Scary Larry Dwyer of Derby, Connecticut, but doesn't like to claim that, says he's from Bridgeport, even though he's one of the most prolific posters on the Derby Community Forum. You auditioned?
I did for the Miami season. I did.
What was that like? Like, did you do a tape? How did that go?
It was at Norwalk at some big facility, and it was just an open audition. There was thousands of people in line. It was 1995, and me and my buddy Kevin went down, and I was somewhere in the middle of the line, and I thought I was a shoo-in because the people walked up and down the line with a clipboard, just looking at people before stuff started, and they immediately picked me first. They're like, "You in?" This is 95. I've got a septum piercing. Both my eyebrows are pierced. 95 piercings were not really popular. So I must have looked pretty crazy to them. So they took me in first, and they basically just sat me down in a room full of people with cameras and lights on me, and they're like, "Just talk." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, just talk about yourself." So I started talking about, hey, my name's Larry. I'm in a band called Hatebreed. I went into my backpack because, hardcore kids carried backpacks at that time, pulled out pictures of shows, pulled up my shirt to show them my nipples were pierced, just talked about all sorts of crazy shit. And dude, they were laughing and yucking it up. And I was like, I am in. I was like, that's it. I'm on this Real World thing. And they never called me. That was it. That was the end. I never heard from them again.
I was a little late. I meant to cut out your curse there. But
did I curse?
That was it, huh?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you
sorry
did,
about
Larry.
Larry would have been the guy in the beginning who would have said true story.
that. No, we
Right.
had
True story.
me and my buddy Boulder had a plan that which is good. It's good that they never did this, because we had a plan that if I got on, I was going to be like totally cool for the first week or two, and then have all my friends in there, and we were just going to completely trash the joint, like, you know, poo in people's clothes, you know, just get crazy. So
There is actually a real world reference on the new episode of Mondo Creepy.
there it is, tying it all together.
Yeah.
But
My ex-girlfriend tried out for the Puck season.
oh wow, okay.
Like way back when. I remember she didn't get in obviously, but I remember she had like the letterhead and everything, the rejection letter kind of thing and everything. It was very cool. But yeah.
At least she got a letter. I never got anything. Nothing.
Yeah, she got a letter.
Nah, I got nothing.
Did you sign the release?
I think so. I
Yeah,
guess.
Of course you did. Oh, yeah, you definitely
Yeah, oh
signed the
yeah.
release.
I would have signed whatever they put in front of me at that time. My wife just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, on this, they brought all the first season cast back, just real quick since nobody saw it. But
I read about it though.
they're all they're just insufferable. They are like the one guy. You remember, like his name was Eric Niels or something like that.
Eric
He was on
Niels,
The
the musician.
Grind.
Oh, the grind guy.
From the grind.
But
Eric
I
Niels.
read that he got COVID and he was only able to do the show from a hotel room or something.
He did.
Like that, right?
He has COVID during the thing, but he's become. It's like they all think they're philosophers. You know, I guess it makes sense because I mean, now that I feel bad saying this because Larry auditioned for it, but they're all narcissists. They're all like insane narcissists.
Yeah.
And so now they're 20 years later or 30 years later, they're just all like they're all mystics and empaths and all. It actually depressed me. Like by the end of it, I was just like depressed watching it.
Was Heather B there?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's all right. She's the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She's
Was Norman there?
Yes, Norman was there, and he's basically had to move back in with his parents. He's working at a bakery because all his, the economy crashed and all that.
And Norman actually followed Planet Comics at one point around that time. I didn't tweet. I tweeted something, and I don't know what it was, but Norman followed it because
he's an artist. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did watch the first episode, kind of on speed watch because I did watch like the first 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, sure.
I enjoyed it, and so there was that curiosity factor. But like watching it, I thought it was going to be one episode and done, and then I realized it was like a season.
I didn't even know.
I was like, I can't with these people because you're right. They all seem very much the same, very much narcissistic, very much, And then you had the added factor of like COVID, like they weren't all going to be there. I was just like, you know what? I don't want to dive back into this part of the. Because I would watch it, like a reunion special of like at least the first 2 or 3 seasons, like the LA cast too. I was curious, but like I can't sit there.
I can totally see how those people would be completely into themselves because that first season was an iconic thing,
It was.
And, being
that's mentioned every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes they bring up.
Totally warped their whole reality. Once you're a part of something like that, like it's forever a part of you.
Someone there's a shout out to the French Connection on here, which is really good.
Well, what was it?
Great film
Back then. Why do you have a beeper? Are you a drug dealer?
You deal drugs.
Yeah,
that was a Heather B. Yeah.
What was the one dude that nobody ever remembers his name with the long hair?
Andre.
Yeah, he's just as like lifeless and like just no personality as he was. Like he pulls out the banjo at one point.
Did that season have a cast change ever, or was that the second season on, like where they kick someone out?
Yeah, no, they didn't kick anybody out. It was
nobody
left.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
no.
Supposedly he used to wear a bong on his belt and they always had to shoot around it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
The 90s were wild. All right. One more thing though, since whatever, I've had you for an hour and 10 minutes now. Did anybody watch the latest Dave Chappelle Netflix special?
I've not watched it.
Not yet.
What do you got? You guys call yourself students of pop culture? I'm bringing up all these things. Nothing.
I don't call myself that at all. No.
If it's Men at Work.
Yeah,
Dumb and Dumber. It's like I like Dumb and Dumber Part 2, but not Part 1.
I'm a student of 80s and 90s pop culture, I guess.
Anyway, I guess I won't go into my thoughts.
Making television for the internet.
I think Netflix is ruining everything. Is basically I think like they gave Dave Chappelle so much money, and like Dave Chappelle thinks he's like a philosopher. He's a philosopher now. He's no longer a comedian. He'll just like, it's a lecture. It's like sitting, like, you know, like when you're in college.
That's like old George Carlin, though. I mean, George Carlin towards the end stopped being a comedian and started just.
Yeah, but this is
that last special of
those
Carlin.
last two specials were not good.
Yeah, they were just. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Carlin can read me a grocery list.
He's still the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I'll think it's great just because of his delivery. But there was barely any jokes in his last couple of.
I never really got why people love George Carlin so much. I hate to admit. I mean, I'm ashamed to say that, but I never really found him all that funny. But that's just a personal thing. But this there's a darkness to it, though.
Really,
he's lectures, and the majority of the special is him just complaining about the trans community's reaction to his last special. He's basically like, for 45 minutes, these people got mad at me, and they have no, like, it's just, I mean, it's worth watching, but I get why, like, people are mad, segments are mad, but I'm just like, I just make me laugh. Like, he just won't let it go. It's kind of like Lenny Bruce. Remember, like, Lenny Bruce was like, addicted to drugs, and he had all, he was fighting the government First Amendment because they would arrest him on obscenity charges for cursing, like Larry did earlier. And that's all he would talk about. He would go up there on stage and read his court documents. That's sort of what this Chappelle special is, and then just a lot of grossness, like a lot of just grossness, like beyond crass. I don't know. I just think it's really disappointing. I don't know what, and I think it's just because Netflix just gives them a bunch of money. And there's this whole subgenre now of celebrities like doing their own documentaries. Like Kevin Hart has one on Netflix. There's the one where Jim Carrey goes on and on about how great he was in Man on the Moon. Oh, really? Jim Carrey's the worst.
That Jim Carrey Man on the Moon one was hard to watch.
All his new age.
Was it hard to watch? Was the Val Kilmer documentary? Because that was hard to watch.
That was depressing.
I didn't want to watch that one because of the subject, but yeah.
But it was good.
The thing about the Jim
I like
Carrey
the Val Kilmer
documentary
one.
Is that that based on the way he describes what happened to the footage for so long, the studio was trying to do him a favor by burying that footage, and he couldn't let it go.
I was looking for my Tony Clifton autograph, but I guess I put it away.
You have a Tony Clifton autograph?
Yeah. That's I got it at it was what's his name? Bob Zamuda was at Schiller one year.
Of course he was.
And I was with
right next to the cast of Good Times, I'm sure.
I mean, and he was at the bar. Matt, you were probably there with me. He came up to us.
Yes.
We hung out with Tony Clifton in his makeup, and he was sweating, and he smelled really bad. And he was like just telling us jokes. I mean, this was like 1 a.m. How like
was he in character?
He was in character. He was in character.
The funny thing is I didn't realize it was Zamuda until an hour later. I really thought it was just some dude that showed up in cosplay as Clifton.
That's amazing.
That was like one of my greatest.
Wow, this guy's makeup for Clifton is really good.
It's like, I don't fanboy easily, but I probably would have been a little starstruck by Bob Zamuda. But that's my weird head. I'll sit there and hang out with Danielle Harris and be fine. But Bob Zamuda, I'm like, I can't talk.
I'm the same way. I only get starstruck in front of and I've met because I used to work in movies. And TV, so I used to know and work with a lot of people. I mean, not as many as Brian has these days, but I used to get starstruck at the dumbest people. I mean, not the dumbest people, like people that meant something to me. Like I remember going to LA once and seeing a Tenacious D concert. I'm waiting for the car, and like Paul Rubens is standing right next to me, and people are coming up to him, and he's signing autographs, talking. I'm so starstruck. I'm like,
I got the one thing that comes to my head when I got starstruck was Daryl McDaniel, DMC from Run DMC. It was at Toy Fair. He was in the Todd McFarlane booth because they were collaborating on something. And I was so starstruck that I'd stopped recording Sean from Horror News Network interviewing somebody in the booth and was like, I got to get my picture with DMC. And I threw my phone to a random guy. I was like, hey, can you please take my picture with DMC? And Sean's like, that's Todd McFarlane. I'm like, I don't care. I threw my phone at Todd McFarlane. I'm like, take my picture with Daryl. Because I was just like, I was so starstruck by DMC. But it's just the strangest people for me that I get. But Zamuda, it would have been the same way. I would have just been like beyond myself.
He was hammered. But I mean, Larry, you interviewed George Romero, though. I mean, that's
and was not starstruck. But I was in awe, and I was honored, but I wasn't starstruck.
Interesting.
Yeah, but DMC and Paul Rubens probably would have done it for me as well. That would have been it's the weird people that make me starstruck.
All right, guys. So I took enough of your time. So, like, in summation, listen to Pint of Comics podcast with John Amenta and Lloyd Green. It's really entertaining. The guys know their stuff. I break their chops all the time, but John, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Always. Thanks, man.
Good luck with your laptop there, your brand new laptop. Tech is awful. And then tomorrow night, please go to Mondo Creepy on YouTube and watch
11 p.m. Eastern time.
11 p.m. Eastern time for the premiere of Mondo Creepy episode 4. And that's Matt Maisto. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Then go to Seymour, right up the road, Strand Theater on October 23rd to see a Troma double feature. It's The Toxic Avenger, the granddaddy. It's the godfather of Troma movies. And then The Class of Nukem High. To get tickets now, because you want to buy them in advance, go to ConnecticutCultClassics.com. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you very much, Eugene. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. The only way I know to end this now is just to hit end. So I would like to stick around for a second and say my goodbyes again, but I can't do that because I don't know how. So
Baba Booey to you all.
Baba Booey to you all. For the Valley Indy, I'm Eugene Driscoll saying thank you so much, and I'll see you all Monday.